Hello and welcome to the Worldwide Shoppers Club Residual Rebate System Training Series. Now this will be a series of 4 different videos. The first part will be getting started. The second part would be accelerating growth. And these are basically for the new people that are really starting to get their group going and the ones that most people should look at the right time, and we'll tell you when it is to do that. The next 2 parts, part 3, strategic details and how it works, are only for those people that really want to dive into the rebate system, know all there is to know about it, and maybe those that are really wanting to develop a large group would want to take a look at these, and these will be on video for later. The first 2 we really want you to go over, but I also want to indicate to you that it's not only from these videos or in the trainings that you'll be going to, but there's going to be lots of people out there to help you and guide you, so make sure that you rely on connecting with some people who are part of your groups that are wanting to grow the club, because that's what we're all about, is growing this club around the world. So let's take a look at the first part. First part is getting started. What we're going to cover here is the basics. The personal shopping rebates, shopping circle rebate, the shopping group rebates. And this is for the brand new member. And believe me, this is all you need to know until you've completed your shopping circle. And we're going to tell you what that is. So we don't even want you to go beyond this until you've done that. It's the first thing you should be looking at doing. It's your first goal and your first step in getting started with the Worldwide Shoppers Club system. So let's get started. So first of all, we always want to remind you who we are. And we're going to go over this over and over again, because this is, if you want to say, this is kind of your elevator speech. And so I'm going to keep reminding you about this because it's so important. So the Worldwide Shoppers Club is an international, non-registered, not-for-profit, private, volunteer membership club. Now, I don't want you to memorize those words. It's more this next section. I just want you to have this idea so that you can express it as you go. All of these words are important for what we are, but you need to understand why they're important. First of all, the club is in the cloud. Now what that means is it's not a business. Now this is the non-registered part. It's not a business of any kind. However, it does provide an equal financial opportunity for all of its members by linking them to merchants around the world. So that's the first thing we do, is just link people up. Secondly, the members support these merchants and service providers in exchange for rebates collected into the global pool through a Class A international bank. So it's very important you understand, we don't handle any money. That's why we're in the cloud. That's why we're not a business, all right? We also then add additional rebate enhancements from other sources and opportunities that get added into this pool, which again separates it into a class of ourselves because of this next part. What we do then is, through this residual rebate system we're talking about today, is we direct the bank to distribute all of the pool to the club members. And this will be an amount greater than 100% of the rebates generated by the global members. So that's a phenomenal financial opportunity for our members. And that's what we're all about, is helping members and merchants increase their lifestyle, increase their profits, increase the economy. And that's our whole mission and purpose, as you know. So we wanted to set that down because now we're going to talk about the residual rebate system, how it works, and how we're going to motivate and encourage and reward people for helping us grow the club. Another thing I want to mention is whenever I talk about the 100%, we also want to understand that this is something that is available for the group to decide, for the membership. And we've decided that of that 100% which we are distributing, we're going to use 3% for humanitarian causes, 5% for promotions, and 92% will be returned to the members through the residual rebate program. Now that's by our choice. We could have returned 100%. So whenever I do talk about 100%, please understand, we all know that to the membership, it's just 92%. But also remember that not only is it the rebates, but also the enhancements. So as I mentioned, this is going to be larger than 100%. So probably the 92% will actually work out to be larger even than 100% of all the rebates. So that's a pretty great thing about the club, is that it's going to continue to grow. And the more we grow, the more of these enhancements there'll be. Just so you kind of understand that, and you'll see that as we progress. The club must grow to achieve its goals and purposes, which I already mentioned, which is the financial benefit for both the merchants and the people and the communities around the world. How we do that is the residual rebate system rewards, first of all, your personal efforts, secondly, working as a team, and next, helping others. And what we measure is contribution. So members receive rebates for their contribution to the growth of the club. And this is measured by, number 1, the amount of personal shopping rebates generated by the member. Number 2, the size of the shopping group developed by the member. And number 3, the amount of rebates generated by the member's shopping group. We're going to cover all these in detail, so don't have to memorize these right now. We're going to show you what we mean by each one of these. So let's start with number 1, the amount of personal shopping rebates generated by the member. Now, first of all, you need to know that only active members receive rebates. So we better define what that is. Let's talk about membership. We are a private volunteer membership club, as we mentioned in the first slide that we talked about. Members must be invited into the club. That's part of being a private club. The membership fee is $25 a month, and that's called US dollars, and we'll talk about that in a minute also. That just gives you membership, but to receive rebates, you must be an active member. So what is an active member? An active member is someone who generates a minimum rebate of $10 per month. Now, you don't want to just be an active member. What you want to be is a free active member. That means that you will have no monthly fees. These $25 a month that we're talking about, I'm sure you'd prefer not to pay those than pay those. So what you need to do is invite 3 other active members. And if you personally invite 3 other active members, and they're active each month, then you no longer have to pay your monthly membership fees. So, now let's get to this US dollars. We needed a universal standard. The US dollar is the standard, and we are in many countries around the world, but the club needs to have its own source of operating money, and that's what the $25 is. That's the membership fee. The membership fee is so that we can pass on 100% of the rebates to the membership. And as we mentioned in the overview presentation, other ideas and other people that have rebate programs, they can take up to 25 to 33% of that away just so that they can operate. We don't do that. It's $25 is completely what the club uses in order to pay for the programmers, do promotions, have support for the members, etc., etc. And so it's a very, very important part of doing this. But it has to be standard around the world. That's why we use US dollars. Similarly, for generating rebates, you've got to measure that for US dollars. Now, everybody does it in their own currency, but it has to be an amount equal to US dollars. Now remember, yes, you're putting in US dollars, but also when the rebates get paid, they get paid in US dollars. So even though you had to generate that amount in US dollars, you're also going to receive that back in US dollars, so it kind of works itself out. Now, I also want to point out here, the reason we measure rebate generation as opposed to dollars spent is because every merchant has a different margin, and so it wouldn't be good just to say you have to spend so many dollars because we don't know how many rebates would be generated. So having it done by rebate generation is much more fair for everyone, as you'll see as we progress. So now let's talk about the rebates that you'll receive as an active member. So first of all are personal purchase rebates, and secondly are the group residual rebates. So let's talk about the personal ones first of all. Now there's 2 reasons to generate more than the minimum rebate, more than the $10, all right? That'll get you started, but that's not where you want to end up. So the reason number 1 is because of the personal shopping rebates. Active members receive 50% of the rebates generated from their personal shopping until their shopping group rebate exceeds it. Now let me give you an example of that. Let's suppose your personal shopping is $200 at an average of 20% from the merchants that you've shopped with. That would be $40. Now you understand, of course, that all of the rebates go to an international pool and then they get divided up according to the residual rebate plan. So in this case, personal shopping rebates, that is part of the residual rebate plan, means that you receive back 50% of your personal shopping if you don't have a shopping group that exceeds it. So in this case, we're going to say that you're eligible for a personal shopping rebate of 50% or $20. The remaining 50% would stay in the pool. Now let's give you some more examples. Let's suppose you do not have a group. So that means you would receive 0 shopping group rebates, so you would receive the full $20, as you can see in that chart there. So what the chart says is you're going to receive the larger amount from your personal shopping rebates compared to your group shopping rebates. So now, if your group shopping rebates was $15, well, that's still not larger than the 20, so you'll receive the 20. But let's suppose your group shopping rebates now go up to $35. Well, now you'll receive the $35. Now, that doesn't mean that you're not receiving your personal shopping rebates. You see, as your group grows, it's not going to matter where you get your rebates from. It's how much you're getting in proportion to what you're spending. Right now, you spent the $200, and now you're receiving $35 for spending that $200. Well, in the future, you're going to receive a lot more than that. So you do need to do your personal shopping, but what counts is the amount of rebates you're getting back, not where it's coming from. The purpose of the personal shopping rebate is basically to guarantee a rebate for a new member or members without a shopping group. So everybody gets a rebate. But as your groups grow, believe me, you're going to want the group shopping rebate over the personal shopping rebates for sure. So now let's go on and look for reason number 2 for wanting to generate more than $10 in personal rebates. And that is to qualify to receive shopping group rebates at a larger level. The global pool is actually divided into 5 subpools sized by $10 rebate generation increments. So if you look at that blue cylinder there, which represents the first subpool, that's the active member subpool. Now after that, we get into something called ovaries. That's at the $20, the $30, the $40, the $50 rebate generation level. All of the rebates that are generated somewhere inside those pools, and all of those rebates then will add up to the global rebate pool, as you can see on the right. So here's some rules. A member must generate enough personal shopping rebates to pass the threshold amount of the subpool in order to qualify to receive rebates from a subpool. Now basically what that says is you need to be in a subpool to receive rebates from a subpool. Now what you can see over here that we did on the left, we divided up all of the global rebates into numbers of members that would be in the 10, the 20, the 30, the 40, the $50 subpools. And remember, a $50 person is also in the 10, 20, 30, and 40, 50. The amount of rebates everybody's generating is generating the entire rebate pool. So what we just talked about was qualifying to be in a subpool. Now we want to talk about receiving money from a subpool. So it says qualified members in each subpool receive residual rebates from the members in their shopping group also qualified to be in the subpool. So now we've just changed the graph a little bit. Instead of making it a total pool, we're just saying this is what your shopping group may look like. And what that says is you have a number of people who are just active members, a number of people who have moved on to generate $20 in rebates, and 30 and 40 and 50. So if you're in a subpool, you can receive from that subpool. And if you're not in it, then you can't receive from that subpool. So if you've only generated $30 in rebates, you will not receive rebates from the people who generated $40 and $50 who are in your group. So just to summarize this as a rule, the more rebates you generate personally, the more group residual rebates you'll receive. Okay, let's now go on and look at the second way that we can measure a contribution of a member to the growth of the club, and that is the size of the shopping group developed by the member. The absolute key to the growth of the Worldwide Shoppers Club is completing what we call shopping circles. And for that reason, we put a really high value on doing that. Now, a shopping circle is completed by personally inviting and maintaining 3 active members. Each new active member increases the residual rebates they can receive from the shopping group. Let me show you what that means. First of all, we have a current member here, and what she's going to do is invite some other members that become active members. With her first active member, she'll be able to receive 25% of the rebate she's eligible for through her shopping group. On the second active member, she'll receive 50%. And on her third active member, she'll then be able to receive 100% of the rebate she's eligible from the size of her shopping group. And on top of that, with 3 active members, she no longer has to pay any monthly fees. So these are very big advantages and rewards for creating a shopping circle, and they're absolute key to the expansion of the member shopping group, and therefore the expansion of the whole club. So we have these slogans: 3 is free, but 3 is key. So now let's take a look at how the shopping circle actually does help with the development of your shopping group. Basically, you go from shopping circles to shopping groups. So first, a shopping group starts with an active member completing a shopping circle, as we've already mentioned. That means on their first connection, which are the first people that are connected to them, they have 3 members. Now what's going to happen? Don't you think each one of those new members also want to complete a shopping circle? Don't you think they each want to get 100% of the rebates? And don't you think they each also don't want to have to pay their membership fees? Well, of course they do. So each one of them now will invite and bring on 3 new active members. Now, as a result of that, the new member now has 12 members in their group through 2 connections. Now, the next obvious question is don't you believe each one of these new members will also want to have 100% of the rebates and not to have to pay membership fees? Well, of course they will. So they're going to also invite and bring on 3 new active members. Now, the original member will have 39 people in their group because 27 more were just added, and that's through 3 connections. And actually, this process will continue through the 4th connection. It will move to 120, the 5th, the 6th, and actually up to the 7th connection and beyond. The groups can get larger and larger just from the motivation of each member reaching out to bring on 3 new members to complete their shopping circle so that they can receive their 100% rebates and have no membership fees. So what we've put down is some member milestones that measure and recognize member contribution to the growth of the club by the size of their shopping group. Basically, the increased size equals the increased residual rebates. So now let's look at the last way of measuring contribution, and that's by measuring the amount of rebates generated by the member's entire shopping group. Well, of course, groups generate rebates by shopping. So individual members inside the group generate rebates into higher subpools by shopping with the Worldwide Shoppers Club merchants for items they need and want, and as a result qualify for higher residual group rebates. But it's absolutely unreasonable for us to expect everyone will generate a $50 rebate. So we're going to use these numbers for our example. Beyond the $10 subpool, where we do have 100% activity because these are all the active members, we're going to say that the $20 subpool, only 85% of the members in your group have moved over to that subpool. Only 65% have moved into 30, 50 into the 40, and only 30% of the members in your group actually do $50 worth of rebate generation. So let's take a look at this for a couple of our milestones, and we're just going to use 200 and 1,000 for easy math. So in the $10 sub pool, all 200 active members would be there, and of course all 1,000. But at the $20 sub pool, only 170 members would be there, and 850. Similarly, if we go to 40, it's 100 and 500, and all the way up to 50, it would be 60 and 300. So one more time, what that's saying, out of your entire group of 200, 60 are generating $50 worth of rebates. But of course, if they're at 50, they're also at the 40, the 30, the 20, and the 10, just so you've got that straight. So another way we're going to show that is with a pie chart. It shows your shopping group rebates done in proportion to the amount of generation by each of the members in your group. So with all that in mind, let's go ahead and calculate some rebates. So again, what we want to do is measure the three different types of contribution. First, we have the rebates from personal shopping. Now there's two aspects of that. The member personal shopping to get into the various subpools, and the group personal shopping to get into the various subpools. The next thing is the size of the group, and that's where we'll lay down our milestones, and each one of these represents a different size group. The third measurement is the total rebates generated by the group, and that's shown by the graph that we just talked about. Now, one last thing I want to mention is that, of course, these are just going to be examples and for demonstration purposes only. It's also important to mention here that these examples are through a perfect shopping circle expansion scenario like the one I showed you when we were going through the shopping circles. Everyone expanding out by 3 until they hit the various numbers that we have here in the milestones. But I'm sure, as you already know, these are just examples for a demonstration, and your individual results will vary depending on the shopping group structure and the pool available for distribution. So let's take a look. First of all, let's suppose you're just an active member and you're just in the $10 sub pool. That means you will be receiving rebates from 100% of the active members within your shopping group. In this case, we're going to take a look at, again, as our markers. You would be making $281 in rebates at the 200 and $1,129 at the 1,200 membership level. Now let's take a look at what would happen if you had generated $10 more in rebates to put you in the $20 overage subpool. Well, that would enable you to be receiving rebates from that extra 85% of your group that's also in the $20 subpool. And now at the 200 level, you would have moved from $281 to $618 in rebates that month. At the $1,200 levels, you'd move up to over $2,500 that month from just a little over $1,000. Well, what about if you were generating $30 in rebates? Well, again, you'd be eligible to receive rebates from that extra 65% of the group also in that subpool. Now you'd move up to $851 at the 200 member level and $3,721 at the 1,200 member level. Let's move on to the $40 subpool, where you also have 50% of your group generating rebates in that subpool. Now you would move up at the 200 member level to $1,084, and at the 1,200 member level, $5,000 a month in rebates. And just to wrap up, let's go to the $50 level, where now at the 200 level you'd move up to $1,260, and at the 1,200 member level over $6,000 in monthly rebates. Now I want you to back off a little bit and take a look at the whole chart. Remember, at $10 at 200 member level, that was $281. By you personally generating more rebates, you've moved yourself up at the $50 level all the way to $1,260. Now this has nothing to do with any change of any group size. It's only what you were able to capture from the group as a result of being in the various subpools. Similarly, at the 1,200 member level, you move from $1,029 all the way up to $6,000 by you adding more rebates personally, which enabled you to capture more rebates from the various subpools in your group. So that completes part 1 of the training. Now, as I mentioned, I want to go over and over this statement here to show what we just showed. We showed, of course, that we are not a business of any kind. All we're doing is linking up with the merchants, doing our shopping, generating rebates that are going into an international pool handled by a Class A bank that we then, through the residual rebate system, redistribute back to the membership. But what are our purposes? To increase the finances and lifestyle of our members and to bring more business and higher profits to our merchants. To contribute to our communities and also to have some fun doing this. So I think you can see through this presentation that it's simple, it's straightforward. All you really have to do is join, shop, and redeem. You join personally and you have other members join with you. You shop personally and then you shop more to have higher qualification to redeem more rebates from the group size that you have and from the amount of group rebates that are generated from that group. So when you're ready, you can go on to part 2, but we don't really want you to do that until you've completed your shopping circle. That's your homework. You can view this next training after you complete the shopping circle. What we're going to do there is just tell you a little bit more about the shared array overage connections, which we haven't talked about yet, how things are placed inside the groups for maximum benefit, and also tell you about a great thing called rebate enhancement. So get that shopping circle done and then move ahead and get on to part 2.